Time to get your savings sorted? With a Moneybox Cash ISA, you can earn a great interest rate on up to...
Final practice ahead of qualifying for the Japanese Grand Prix, and once again it was Formula One's form team topping the timing tables. Lando Norris of McLaren setting the fastest lap of the weekend so far, timed at 1 minute 27.965. Teammate Oscar Piastri was second quickest, just 26 hundredths back. Chasing the papaya pair was George Russell, who was again pushing hard. P2 in first practice, the Mercedes man more than matched his Friday efforts in FP3, topping the tables for much of the session. His best lap a good half-second quicker this time out. P3 for his efforts today. 4 red flags caused severe disruption to second practice, 2 of which were caused by trackside fires. We had another couple in final practice. These blazes tend to be caused by sparks from the car's skid plates igniting the very dry grass that surrounds the Suzuka circuit. The fire marshals have been quick to extinguish the flames, but the pauses do disrupt run plans, making it hard for teams to gather the right data ahead of qualifying and, of course, Sunday's Grand Prix. The Alpine engineers put in a serious shift yesterday, working until gone 3 AM local time to get Jack Doohan's car ready after his big collision with the tyre wall on Friday. The Australian rookie was duly the first driver out on track for FP3, sporting the soft tyres, keen to get some quick laps under his belt before qualifying later in the day. He went a little wide at turn 9 and finished the session in P14. Turn 9, the second Degner, proved problematic for a few. Kimi Antonelli went wide there, as did Oscar Piastri, who topped the disrupted FP2 session yesterday, also scattering some stones as the Australian negotiated the quick and quite testing corner. Even more dramatic was Lando Norris's off at the same section. The current Drivers' Championship leader with all 4 wheels on the loose stuff, but thankfully no real damage done to his McLaren.
Just a squeeze of the throttle and into Degner 2. Well, that's further off than we've been with any other car so far.
Carlos Sainz was another to dip a wheel on the gravel there. Williams had a very solid Friday, solidly midfield one could say, with Carlos Sainz P10 in both sessions. Alex Albon 1 place lower again across the 2 practices. The Spaniard suffered a snap exiting turn 6 and took a trip across the grass. And Isaac Hadjar.
Beside me is the racing driver Alice Powell, and Alice, let's just see off these fires. We're hoping not to see any more, but we've already seen 2 in FP3 and several in Friday's running as well.
Yeah, it's not ideal, to say the least. The fire marshals and the safety team have been out right up, and they will be out still up to the start of this qualifying session, filling up buckets, anything that they can fill water with water. They are out there just soaking the grass, trying to make sure that it's damp enough that if a spark does fly off the car, it doesn't set the grass on fire. So it'll be a nightmare if we're going to keep constantly getting red flags. It's highly disruptive, not just for us watching, but also for the drivers and the teams.
Yeah, let's see how that goes. The FIA and the marshals hoping that they have put in enough preventative measures to handle this one. Let's talk about this circuit though. It's an iconic one, this Suzuka track. It's the only figure of 8 circuit on the calendar, and 18 turns, 10 to the right and 8 to the left, make up the just under 6 kilometers. That's just over 3.6 miles, where you're getting up to speeds of over 300 kilometers an hour, and there are some amazing corners around this track, Alice, aren't there?
There is. It's a real driver favourite. It's certainly a challenging track. There's no room for error. You make one small mistake, and we've seen it from Jack Doohan not closing his DRS in free practice 2 and firing it into the wall at turn 1 from Fernando Alonso, just touching the grass into turn 8 and then getting stuck in the gravel. So that first sector is probably the most iconic of this circuit. That famous S's, you're going up the hill through turn 3, 4, 5, 6, a roller coaster, hugely challenging. Then you go into sector 2 where you've got the Degners, downhill, tough. We've seen a lot of drivers running through the gravel gravel on the exit of turn 9, then into a slower part of the track, turn 11. Again, drivers struggling in the practice sessions we've seen by just having a small lockup, sending them into the gravel, all of them just about keeping it out of the wall. Into Spoon, the double left-hander, fantastic, really tests the drivers. And actually, I'm just looking at our weather radar, and now the wind has played a huge factor. It's picked up again from this morning, and it's a tailwind into Spoon, so we'll keep an eye on the cars as the drivers are going to be fighting their way through there. Finally then into the final sector, 130R, the flat-out famous left-hander, and then heavy on the brakes into the final chicane.
Track's also been resurfaced in that first sector as well. How does that affect things?
So the drivers have been saying it's actually a big positive. It's smoothened the surface out a lot, and lap times are much faster than we've seen before. So actually lap times are a couple of seconds quicker. A majority of that is in that first sector. Just more grip, Harry, and racing drivers love more grip.
Absolutely, more grip equals more speed, and that is certainly what they carry heading into turn 1, getting up to 265 kilometers an hour. You don't even brake going into turn 1, you take it flat and then you apply the brakes as you come into the second part of the right-hander through turn 2 and try and scrape off some of the speed. And well, the fastest cars so far this weekend, Alice, have looked like the two McLarens. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri exchanging fastest laps across the practice sessions we've had so far. They really are the team to beat.
They are. They didn't look great in the first couple of practice sessions. I did notice in free practice 3, both of the drivers adjusted their line in the chicane. It was earlier on in the weekend, it was not riding the curbs particularly nicely through there. Okay, they had the pace, but the drivers were quite vocal in saying, yeah, there's certainly areas that we need to work on, and they're struggling slightly, but they seem to adjusted accordingly and looking particularly strong. But so's George Russell. He pulled out a good lap time, looked strong in the first free practice session yesterday, and he was strong again in this final practice session, free practice 3, only a tenth shy of Lando Norris at the top spot.
Yeah, George Russell's never qualified higher than 8th here in Suzuka, so we'll be looking for a good run. The Mercedes in the hands of Russell have had a great start to this season. 2 podiums to George Russell's name from 2 Grand Prix as the green light gets underway, and the first part of qualifying is go with 17 minutes and 49, 48, 47 seconds remaining as they peel out from the pit lane, which feeds you right into the apex of turn 1. In this first qualifying session, we will eliminate the slowest 5 drivers as we set the grid for Sunday's Grand Prix. Outside then of Mercedes and McLaren, what about Ferrari? Off the back of Lewis Hamilton's amazing win in the Chinese sprint race, of course, from one high to a low low, with both cars getting disqualified from the Grand Prix. Ferrari, though, look like there is pace there, but they're still very much unlocking that from the car.
They are. It's been a fairly steady weekend for Ferrari. You just touch on that bitter disappointment with both cars getting excluded from the race, which is bad enough having won, as we're just seeing it's that Lando Norris trying to make his way out of the pit lane. They're all queuing, but he came out at a strange angle and just about missed clipping the front wing on the pit wall, but he's safely released now onto track. Yeah, then Ferrari having 2 cars excluded from the race. That's damaging. That's big points lost in the Constructors' Championship. Pace-wise this weekend, they've struggled a little bit. You could say they're the 3rd fastest team in terms of McLaren being in front and George Russell and Mercedes sneaking in there as well. But qualifying's different. They'll all be running low fuels. They'll all be pushing hard on that soft tyre when it comes to the final stages of qualifying. So who knows? It's a punishing track if you make one small mistake.
As they head out on their warm-up laps, all eyes will be on the man who is now alongside Max Verstappen in the Red Bull. Yuki Tsunoda, the Japanese driver, makes his debut for the Red Bull team. Of course, no stranger to Formula One. The 24-year-old has been a part of the junior team for the last few years, now called Racing Bulls. Didn't get the call-up at the start of the season. That went to the less experienced Liam Lawson, but ahead of this week, the Kiwi racing driver demoted back down to the junior team after having a really tough start to this season. So Tsunoda gets the call-up in time for his home Grand Prix. No pressure then for Tsunoda, is there, Alice? But so far this weekend, what have you made of his progress?
He's done a really good job jumping into a different car. It's a different piece of machinery, clearly handles differently to the sister team's car, the RB, and he's been within touching distance of Max Verstappen, and he should be very pleased with that. He was 3/10 off his teammate in free practice 3, but you know, we've seen teammates more recently be a lot further off Max Verstappen than that, and that's what Red Bull want. They want a driver to be there, not necessarily in front of Max. I mean, of course, if they're good enough and fast enough, then why not? But backing up Max within touching distance and not lagging, not out in Q1 or Q2, because most of the time we see Max, he's always in Q3, and that's what they want for the constructors. They will need 2 cars fighting up there, grabbing those points, not just one.
Yeah, we are expecting Red Bull, though, to struggle overall, with even Max Verstappen finding it really tricky this weekend to get the most out of that car. We know they've been struggling with a really sensitive front end, and lots of talk about finding this really small window of the Red Bull car and how it can operate at its best. But so far, Tsunoda seems to be settling in. Let's see how both drivers fare in this qualifying session. First lap time's currently being set on that soft tyre for Ollie Behrman in the Haas, who goes fastest, a 1:29.4 ahead of Hulkenberg. Sauber Sainz in the Williams is third ahead of Esteban Ocon in 4. Jack Doohan just crossed the line and put his Alpine in 5th. That car completely rebuilt from his big crash in FP2 yesterday. Everything replaced except for the power unit. This is the sound of Charles Leclerc making his way round the final corner now, fastest of anybody in the middle sector, and across the line, and goes clear by over a second with a 1:28.5 to his name. Lewis Hamilton will cross the line next, and unlike his teammate, who was on the soft tyre, Hamilton's actually out there on the slightly slower medium tyre, hoping to get through perhaps into Q2 on that medium tyre. Norris, though, is on the soft, so I wonder why Hamilton's gone out there on the medium, just to try and get that bedded in. Norris then goes fastest on the soft, a 1:28.233 for the Brit.
Norris, very clean run through there, and a good chunk of lighting up all 3 sectors purple on the timing screen, which means fastest driver overall. Yuki Tsunoda, he's out on track, entering into the famous spoon corner, tests the strength of a driver's neck and their core stability, ducks in the toe of the Mercedes of George Russell. He's already, though, 3/10 down to Lando Norris. He's got a little bit of traffic in front of him as he enters the final chicane. Fernando Alonso kindly steps out of the way, as over one curve, then another for Yuki. He's going to cross the line, Harry, but it's not going to be challenging Lando Norris at the top. It's going to put him up, though, into P3 for the moment.
4/10 back, but the Japanese fans lapping up every minute of Tsunoda in a white liveried Red Bull to pay homage to Red Bull's partner Honda. They've gone for a white livery inspired by the first Honda F1 winner from 1965, won the Mexico Grand Prix in the Honda RA272. Richie Ginther at the wheel of that one, and paying homage to their partner in what will be the final year of Honda and Red Bull's partnership. Teammate Max Verstappen is going a little quicker than Tsunoda is at the moment, but it's still a 10th down after the middle sector for the Dutchman. Oscar Piastri, we still see what he can do in comparison to his teammate. Verstappen will cross the line first, really hugs that inside wall as they come across the start-finish straight. Verstappen pops himself up into second, a 10th and a half away from Lando Norris, but it's Piastri with 11.5 minutes left of Q1. Early stages, but finding the speed in the middle sector, much faster than anybody else, fastest of anybody else, and quicker than his teammate as the sun glints off that papaya McLaren across the line. The DRS flag flies open, and it's less than a 10th that puts him at the top ahead of his teammate.
On board with George Russell now, coming up to 1:30R, the strongest of the Mercedes so far, certainly this weekend, and at the moment he's 300ths behind, ahead of Oscar Piastri. On the Delta, fires it through the final chicane, using not as much curb as a lot of the other drivers, certainly compared to the Ferrari and the Red Bull. Hugs that inside pit lane wall and jumps up just over 0.5 of a second, splitting the 2 McLarens. Here's Verstappen.
I still have that same problem. It's like the tires are not gripping in the front.
So really struggling with that front end still, lack of grip that Verstappen has been complaining about and trying to fix all throughout practice seems to continue to plague him as we get into qualifying. It's Piastri, Russell, Norris, the top three, Verstappen 2/10 back, then Leclerc, Tsunoda half a second off in sixth, then it's Albon, Alonso, Antonelli's popped up into ninth ahead of Hamilton, who went out on the medium tyre initially, nobody else doing that, wanting to set a bank of time on that medium, second off, he's come back into the pits now, then it's Stroll as we await for Bortoletto, Behrman as well to set a better lap time. He's currently down in 14th, Hulkenberg 15th, and still Doohan, Hadjar, Lawson, Sainz all looking to get better representative lap times on the board. The junior team to Red Bull, Racing Bulls, have looked very quick all throughout the season so far. Only 2 Grand Prix in. Hadjar crosses the line 12th.
Okay, we need to get going, Isaac.
Still same issue, man. Still same issue in the cockpit.
He sounds uncomfortable, doesn't he? So I don't know if he's got an issue with the belts, but we heard him speak about this in free practice 3. He said he didn't want to speak about it on the radio. So I wonder if it's going to sound pretty interesting, but the belts are maybe tight in a certain area, which can make it uncomfortable for a driver of either sex, but they have the crotch belts down at the bottom and between the legs, and that's usually, from what he sounds like he's saying there, that it's particularly uncomfortable. And we did see the mechanics in that area of the cockpit trying to fix the issue, as we see a replay of Isaac just touching the gravel on the exit of turn 9. So an uncomfortable ride and journey so far in this qualifying session for Hadjar. Hopefully for him, we'll be able to get that fixed pretty quickly, Harry.
I think it was in FP1 when he was in the Red Bull in Abu Dhabi that he was complaining about his knees hitting the steering wheel in that cockpit. It could be a totally different
He's
issue.
quite a small driver, so
You wouldn't think that would be the obvious issue.
no, but height can play a part. But that sounds like, if he wasn't on about talking it on the radio, there's an issue with the belts, certain area of the belts, and it sounded like he was pretty uncomfortable on that radio message. But Ollie Behrman's back out now. He's currently 6/10 faster than Lewis Hamilton, who is currently occupying 15th place, which is of course the cut-off below that to those that want to try and get into Q2. Isaac Hadjar is on the radio again.
No, I don't know what's wrong with me, man. I mean, I just can't focus. I have so much lap time to find, but it's just not drivable.
Understood, Isaac. We try to reposition it in the garage.
Okay, so Hadjar is really struggling out there. He's fallen down to 17th. He has come back into the pit. So whatever is the issue for Hadjar in his Racing Bulls cockpit, the team will try and sort that out as the lap times continue to increase. Charles Leclerc has gone quicker in the Ferrari and put himself up to second. A reminder, this is the first part of qualifying where we will eliminate the slowest 5 drivers. Right now, that's where Lewis Hamilton finds himself down in 18th position, looking to go quicker. He was on the medium tyre initially. He's now come back out onto the soft, so we should see him rocket up the list to join his teammate. They look fairly close so far this weekend. Alonso, Antonelli, Hadjar and Stroll are the ones in that bottom 5. Liam Lawson just on the cusp in 15th. This is the sound of the 7-time champion, the man who has a 100% Q3 record around this circuit. Won here a few times as well, back in 2017 and back in 2014, 15, 17, 18, and when it was in Fuji back in 2007. He has an affinity with Japan, does Lewis Hamilton, and has a few pole positions to his name as well, with a couple of corners left to go in this first part of qualifying, just trying to get through into the top 15. Cross the line for the Ferrari driver, up into 6th. Lost a bit of time in that final sector.
He did. He's closer than he was for his previous run, obviously on the medium tyre. Has a little look in his mirrors. We're going to get a replay of Ollie Behrman, flies over the final curve in the chicane. And he's going to, he gets so close, shortening the distance through that final corner to the line there. Got very close to the pit wall, but that sent him much further up the order. So Liam Lawson is in the bottom half of the table now. Fernando Alonso, Kimi Antonelli, Isaac Hadjar and Lance Stroll all at risk of being eliminated in this first part of qualifying. 5 minutes remaining, and I do expect this order to change. Maybe not so much at the top, Harry, as we're having a look out Isaac Hadjar, I think they are playing with something, the belts in some way, something sort of between his legs. He's really not happy. He's waving his hands about, and it's a big distraction for him. Clearly, you've got to be comfortable in this car. You're cocooned in, and he's almost wincing.
He looks like he's in pain.
Yeah, he looks like he is in pain. I think he's wincing at something. Something's not nice in that cockpit for him. And imagine you're cocooned. The seat is built. It's moulded around you. You need to be super, super tight, locked in, so you can feel every little bump, every little movement as you're feathering this fantastic race car through these incredible section of corners as Lando Norris gets pushed back into the garage. Now times will change though. Track evolution is pretty massive here as Lance Stroll, who's occupying the final spot in the table, heads out on another set of brand new soft tyres, along with pretty much majority of the field heading out with 4 minutes remaining.
Yep, and these are the ones at risk at the moment. Liam Lawson is 16th for Racing Bulls, Fernando Alonso in the Aston Martin, Kimi Antonelli in the Mercedes, Isaac Hadjar with those issues still trying to sort them out in the garage, and Lance Stroll currently 20th and last, who's had a bit of a tough anonymous weekend so far. Stroll hasn't qualified inside the top 10 for a Grand Prix yet this season from the 2 races we've had, but has managed to score points and bag 10 points for the team, while his teammate Fernando Alonso, who's crashed this weekend so far after a mistake coming into the Degners, is actually not classified in the championship, having not been able to see the checkered flag so far in this 2025 season. Conversely, on the other side of things, it's been a good start to the season for Alex Albon in the Williams. He's currently inside the top 10 and looking to improve his lap time now as he heads up to the top 5. The track evolving all the time, Alice, as well as his teammate Sainz peels out of the pit lane. Albon goes through and sweeps downhill into turns 1 and 2, almost a never-ending right-hander that then sees you head up the hill through the S's.
Hey, this is what rules are qualifying, just so you know. I'm very sorry.
That's okay, I know you're doing your best out there.
So Hadjar needs to try and refocus now. He's clearly not comfortable. He's crawling down the pit lane. He's got a whole host of cars queuing up behind him, almost pushing him along down pit lane. There's a squabble out on track for track position. Antonelli's tucked up behind his teammate George Russell, who's following his former teammate in Lewis Hamilton, as they just try to spread themselves out now as they come into sector 3. But it'd be a big disappointment for Hadjar, wouldn't it, Harry, if he doesn't make it through into the next part of qualifying. He was 10th in free practice 2. He was up in 3rd he was 10th in free practice 3, 3rd in free practice 2. And for a driver that's not had any real time around this circuit, he's been doing a pretty decent job.
Yeah, and got a top 10 result in qualifying last time out, qualified 7th in China, so there is speed for the French rookie. Talk of rookies, another one under pressure is Kimi Antonelli, who hasn't looked like he's got the same pace as his teammate George Russell. He's beginning a flying lap now with 2 minutes and 5 seconds remaining. Hurtles down into turn 1, getting up to speeds of almost 185 miles per hour as he rockets round the double right-hander, then slings it back left, up through the S's. Antonelli, who hasn't raced around this track, the least experienced rookie here.
The issue is still here. I can't believe it. Can't believe it.
As Hadjar cries for help on the radio, he's finding himself down in 19th and struggling. Antonelli up on time to get himself through into the top 15, but time's improving everywhere you look. It's everyone down from really Gasly, Hulkenberg, Doohan, Ocon, Lawson, Alonso, then Antonelli, Hadjar and Stroll, all finding time, apart from Hadjar, who's just coming to the end of his outlap. So let's see if he can find any more. But for Antonelli, hoping to get through into Q2 and try and close the gap between him and his teammate George Russell. Fastest times at the moment belong to Lando Norris. He stayed in the pit lane. He's not coming back out. Neither is Charles Leclerc. Max Verstappen has managed to get to within a 10th at the top. He's just popped up into 4th as Piastri sets the benchmark and goes fastest of anybody. Meanwhile, Antonelli is up 6/10 through the middle sector and looking good. Tsunoda gets himself up into the 6th spot as Hamilton joins his teammate up in 5th. At the moment, Alonso, Antonelli, Hadjar and Stroll all in trouble here. Not for Antonelli. Fastest in the final sector, gets himself up and into 7th. Fernando Alonso needs a good lap time here. He's up on time in the middle sector. Doohan is the next one at risk. He's out of the lap, having crashed out in FP2, really trying to rebuild his confidence. Liam Lawson, having been demoted down to Racing Bulls, having qualified towards the back in both Grand Prix for the Red Bull. That's where he currently finds himself, in the Racing Bulls, and right now he's not setting the world alight on what will be his final lap. And Fernando Alonso gets up into 12th. Sainz and Albon also up there in the top 10. So it's Gasly, Doohan, Hadjar all out there vying to get through. Hulkenberg's on the bubble as Pierre Gasly gets his Alpine up into 9th.
He does. Let's look out for Jack Doohan, as the next car behind isn't able to do it. He stays in 16th place, having a little look further down the order. Behrmann's into 12th, riding on board with Hadjar now. Whatever's bothering him has not bothered him too much in this final run. Up to 12th place, Harry.
And let's see if Liam Lawson can do it as Hadjar gets through. Lawson is currently down in 19th. Ocon up to 15th. That puts both Salvers down. But Hulkenberg is still out there on a lap and does and should get through as he comes across the line. What's it going to be for the Sauber of Hulkenberg? Just gets through into 15th. That saves Alonso's in 14th. Ocon knocked out in 16th. Gabriel Bortoleto will not make another lap time go well. Liam Lawson is in trouble. Bortoleto gets up to 16th. Liam Lawson, what can he do? It's looking okay. It's going to be on the fringes for Liam Lawson. He just does it. Gets himself up into 15th by a whisker as Behrmann, last car to cross the line, gets his Haas up into 12th. Good turnaround for the Haas driver, who looked like he was languishing towards the back in these early stages. But out then, at the end of Q1, the two Salvers, Hulkenberg 16th, Bortoleto 17th, then comes Esteban Ocon in the Haas, Jack Doohan's Alpine is 19th, and 20th and last, a struggling Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin.
It was a really poor sector from Liam Lawson, sector 1. That's where he would have lost a lot of time, so then he was up against it in the remaining 2 sectors. But disappointment for the 2 Salvers. Esteban Ocon, of course, he'll be bitterly disappointed. Let's hear from Hadjar.
Mate, I can't believe that.
Okay, do we need to jump you out the car quickly? Question?
Yes.
Okay, push on your way in, please. Push on your way in.
So push on your way in means do a fast in-lap. Get back to the garage as quickly as you can. So Hadjar will be exiting his RB machinery, temporarily at least, but a good job, feeling uncomfortable, managed to drag it out the bag though, up into 13th place, so he's through to the next stages of qualifying. But a bitter disappointment for Ocon and Doohan as well, especially for Jack Doohan. Had limited running in the first 2 practice sessions, and of course that big accident in free practice 2. The mechanics worked overnight to fix his car, but Lance Stroll stares with a shake of the head at the timing screen. He is out of this qualifying session and will start from the very back of the grid tomorrow.
Yeah, I think Stroll made a mistake on his final run, went wide, and that cost him the lap time. Here's Hulkenberg, 16th.
Yeah, damn it. Not the outlap prep wasn't perfect. A bit tricky, that track position where we ended up. Traffic and warm-up and all that.
Talk about fine margins though, 16 thousandths of a second is what separated Hulkenberg and Lawson. Lawson making his way through into Q2, and Hulkenberg consigned to the garage.
So when he's talking about prep on the outlap, that's just how you're going to bring in the tyres, the preparation, using the brakes, the right amount of force and speed to heat up the tyres. And if you're not in the most ideal track position, that process can be either not quick enough or it can be rushed. But we're probably going to see a slight error from him, in that middle sector going through the exit of turn 9. He's not the first one to dip a wheel quite heavily into the gravel, and he won't be the last one throughout this weekend as well. So that would have lost him certainly time, and actually probably cost him going into the next part of qualifying.
Latest word on Isaac Hadjar and his issues that he's experiencing. Well, there's not a lot to really bring you on this. They've said unknown issue at the moment. He's feeling some discomfort. It could potentially be related to the upper leg belts being uncomfortable, but that is all racing bulls have to say on the matter.
Yeah, it'll be that's what I thought. I think it would be the crotch belts just being highly uncomfortable for him, and as we said, you need to be comfortable at driving a Formula 1 car, being thrown from one side of the cockpit to the other, reaching speeds at over 180, 190 mile an hour, so any discomfort is not going to be ideal with the concentration either.
Well then, just a reminder then who we've lost in the first hurdle. Nico Hülkenberg in 16th, his second Q1 elimination in the first 3 races this year. Gabriel Bortoletto, 17th, just less than half a tenth of a second slower than his more experienced teammate Hülkenberg. Esteban Ocon, 18th, out in Q1 for the first time in Suzuka since 2016. Jack Doohan, 19th after what has been an incredibly tough weekend for the Australian rookie with his big crash in FP2. And Lance Stroll, who gets knocked out in Q1 here in Suzuka for the 4th consecutive year. He made a mistake coming up through the S's, ran wide on his final lap. That's what cost him the lap time. I'll tell you what will be good news, not only for the Japanese fans that are absolutely packing out this grandstand, but the fact that I would actually say that Red Bull's change has already been immediately vindicated by the fact that Tsunoda is up there right behind his teammate in 7th, or am I jumping the gun too early?
No, I think it's been a positive change looking at across the practice sessions time-wise, comparing the two. He's a whisker, isn't he, Yuki Tsunoda, behind Max Verstappen. It's his home Grand Prix, so that's added pressure because every driver wants to perform highly at their home Grand Prix, and we know what pressure and expectation comes along with that second Red Bull seat. But he's taken to it quite nicely, his Yuki. He's matured over the past few seasons that he's had in Formula 1. You can tell with his responses on the radio, the way he's talking to the team. They're impressed with the job that he's been doing so far. So he'll be looking forward to just try and stay as close, if not in front of Max Verstappen, because you know if you're out qualifying Max Verstappen, you're doing a pretty decent job.
But it's so important that just to be close, because it's so tight from 2nd through to 8th at the end of that first qualifying session, just over a 10th separating those cars. So you know, we talk about if Tsunoda can be within 3 or 4 tenths of Max Verstappen, well at the moment that would see him right at the back. So this is a great start for the Japanese driver. Let's see though if he can carry that progression through into Q2. We have now lost the slowest 5 drivers. We will continue to knock the slowest 5 out in this second part. 15 drivers taking to the field. It is seatbelt problems for Isaac Hadjar, the French rookie in the Racing Bulls, which they are trying to fix as we get Q2 underway. 14 minutes and 46, 45, 44 seconds remain, and Max Verstappen is the first man out on track, the man who took pole position here last year, a man who made his debut here in a Formula 1 car. FP1 for Toro Rosso back in 2014. He returns as a 4-time champion in 2025, but with a car that doesn't seem capable of challenging for pole position as it currently stands.
No, certainly doesn't. But Yuki's on track now as the fans wave the Japanese flag, a big roar as he drives past these packed grandstands here. It's actually a really impressive sight to see white flags go up every time he passes these grandstands, as he's out on his build lap now with just under 14 minutes remaining of the session on the soft tyre. Majority of the drivers that have gone out are on the soft tyre at the moment. Carlos Sainz, he's sitting and waiting patiently in the garage. Maybe he'll be only looking to do one run in this Q2. He was just ahead of his teammate Alex Albon, pretty much matching on time, but he'll be looking to have a much better session this weekend in his new Williams team.
whilst they're out there just on their warm-up laps, let's bring you up to speed with how the standings look. Lando Norris comes in as the championship leader with 44 points to his name. He's 8 clear of Max Verstappen. Then it's George Russell, Oscar Piastri and Kimi Antonelli, the top 5 in the drivers. Over in the constructors, McLaren lead the way, 78 points to them. They are 21 ahead of Mercedes. Then it's Red Bull in third. Williams and Ferrari tied on 17. Williams ahead on countback. Haas 6th, then it's Aston Martin, Sauber 8th, Racing Bulls in 9th, Alpine, the only team yet to get off the mark, and now down to only one car left in qualifying with Pierre Gasly, the Frenchman, at the wheel of the pink and blue Enstone car. This is the sound then of Max Verstappen making his way up through turns 5 and 6, up through the S's. Then it slightly drops downhill before you're heading back up on yourself again through the Dunlop curve, round the left-hander, almost a never-ending left-hander. The steering wheel slightly arc to the left before you whip it round to the right. Almost runs a bit wide there, does Verstappen. Kicks up a bit of dust out through the second Degner, keeps it nice and neat and tidy, and heads towards the hairpin, down through the gears, into the brakes, slightly downhill braking before you're onto the throttle. Try and keep the rear as neat as you can. It's the front end that seems to be really bothering Max Verstappen with this Red Bull car and the drivability of it. Try to get the tyres to find that grip along with the setup in the front through Spoon. A double left-hander that takes you back on yourself, then down the long stretch towards the fastest corner on the circuit. 130R, one of the F1's quickest corners, getting up to 295 kilometers per hour. Foot flat to the floor, and then you hit the brakes once again down through the gears into the Casio triangle. The final chicane, a right left-hander, clout the bump in the corner, and then arc your way to the right-hand side before you come across the line. And that is a lap of this Suzuka circuit with Max Verstappen, a 1:27.502.
Yeah, Yuki Tsunoda's a little bit off Max Verstappen at the moment. 2/10 looking at the sectors. Lando Norris has just gone fastest of anybody in that first sector. That McLaren is particularly strong, and certainly with Norris behind the wheel in that first sector. Yuki navigating a little bit of traffic into the final chicane. A lot of that inside curb, maybe a bit too much as the car hopped over to the left and will tuck up and hug the pit wall as he follows it round turn 18, but a bit quite a disappointing lap from Yuki, only a 1:28.1, so 6/10 adrift of his teammate Max Verstappen. Pierre Gasly pulls out an impressive lap for the Alpine, up into 4th place, 1:27.9, but Norris is absolutely lighting up the timing sheet. This is going to be a fast time from him, and it is 4/10 clear of Max Verstappen, a 1:27.1, easily and by far the fastest time we have seen all weekend.
Yeah, lighting up the timing screen is Lando Norris. Oscar Piastri out there on a lap as well, but not finding as much time as his teammate. But Piastri has looked quick as well this weekend. George Russell, another man to watch out for too, as they make their way around this just under 6-kilometre circuit. 10 minutes left on the clock as the sound of Oscar Piastri makes his way down the stretch past the one remaining Hasselbody Behrman. Foot to the floor through 130R before he heads to the braking zone of the Casio triangle. Not as quick as his teammate Lando Norris. Let's see though what Piastri can muster up in this final sector. Around the final corner, across the line. He's a little bit adrift, 4/10, almost half a second away from his teammate Oscar Piastri in third, with the Red Bull of Max Verstappen splitting the McLarens, along with George Russell, who can only get to within 3/10 of a second to Lando Norris. Make it 2.5. Norris, that is the gap he has over the rest of the field right now. It's Norris, Russell, Verstappen, Piastri, Hamilton, the top 5, Leclerc, Antonelli, Hadjar, Gasly, and Carlos Sainz just comes across the line to get his Williams up into 10th ahead of Fernando Alonso. Behrman is 12th, Tsunoda down in 13th, Lawson 14th, with Alex Albon about to set his first lap time of Q2, and he pops that Williams up into a rather spectacular 5th spot. Good lap from the Thai driver.
So it's used tyres for Yuki Tsunoda and the 2 Ferraris, so that'll explain certainly Yuki's pace, why he's slightly adrift of the fastest time out there. So he'll be looking to adjust. Hadjar on Hadjar watch, he is back out close to the 9th fastest time at the moment, 0.8 of a second adrift from Lando Norris. And Lawson, he's back in the pits, and we've got a red flag out, I think, Harry, and I'm going to take a guess it's probably for some grass that would have caught fire, because I can't see that anyone has stopped on track. A replay with Oscar Piastri in the first part of Degner. In the second part, and take a guess, he's going to dip a wheel into the gravel. Yeah, there he does. Would have lost a little bit of time there.
And you join us just as we have received a red flag as the grass has caught fire again. We're just seeing live pictures of this at the moment. So we're in the middle of the second part of qualifying as the grass has caught fire. The marshals have been watering the grass, dousing it with buckets of water to try and prevent this. We got through the first part of qualifying fine, but now the cars all have to come back into the pits, and this will delay qualifying once again. So this issue continuing in terms of the on-track action. Well, so far, no big names have yet to fall out from qualifying. We've lost the likes of the two Saubers, the Hasselhoff on Jack Doohan's Alpine, who had a big crash earlier on in yesterday's session, and Lance Stroll's Aston Martin. But we will have to take a pause to the running for the time being to deal with the latest fire. Well, yes, talk about that for timing to have a live hit with 5 Live. Thank you for bearing with us on that one. To the loyal 5 Sports Extras fans, here's Albon on the radio.
It's a good going in 11. It's good enough.
Come on.
That was Albon. Good game. It really was. Made his way all the way up to 5th on that one. He's 6/10 adrift of Lando Norris, his teammate though. Carlos Sainz, a few tenths back in 11th. Right now, as it stands, if the session ended like this, we would lose Sainz, Alonso, Behrman, Tsunoda, and Liam Lawson. Tsunoda second off, but as you said, Alex, went out on old tyres. So more time to come from the Japanese driver as the fire extinguishers are out again. And this is a really big issue. The clock stops in qualifying, so unlike in practice where it continues to count down, you do lose that valuable track time. At least in this Q2 session, we will get a full 8 minutes and 26 seconds remaining on the clock. This is not what anyone wants to see, and it doesn't look like it's whatever they're doing. It's not solving the issue. It's just slightly delaying it.
You've got to think the amount of grass that is around this circuit. If they're trying to water every single bit and tiny piece patch of grass, that's a lot of water and a lot of watering that needs to be done. So, I mean, if this happens in the race tomorrow, that's going to heavily disrupt things. And the last thing we want is there being numerous red flags during a race, let alone a qualifying session, that's going to disrupt things, disrupt the flow of the race, could affect the result of the race, could affect the result of qualifying as well. And it's not like with people making an error out on track, it's pure and simply just this grass catching fire. So hopefully more work to be done, or will be done, overnight by the FIA and the team.
Well, hearing there is talk of doing some preventative burning of the grass ahead of tomorrow's race to try and stop it from catching fire during the Grand Prix. The FIA have just said that the grass fire is on the inside of 130R. Given there's about 8.5 minutes left on the clock, it's been decided to red flag the session and resume once the fire has been put out and the area watered again. So they'll focus on putting it out first of all, then watering it, and I imagine they'll take the opportunity to further douse the other areas of the track as well. At least I hope they will, and we'll get this session back underway. There's a bit of cloud cover coming across from over the Suzuka circuit, greying a little bit. Track temperature just above 31 degrees, air temperature 14 degrees. We've had the first part of qualifying where we lost Nico Hülkenberg, Sauber along with his teammate Bortoletto, Esteban Ocon, Jack Doohan and Lance Stroll, and with 8.5 minutes left on the clock in Q2, we still are waiting to see the full outcome of how this pans out. But Andrew Benson, BBC's F1 correspondent, I mean, we saw the first fires of this kind of nature back in China last year, but this really is an ongoing problem here in Japan.
Yeah, this is the 5th fire now, so there's 5 red flags as a cause of these, has been caused by these fires. Now, they were talking between final practice and qualifying about preemptively burning the areas that look most at risk of catching fire. The organisers weren't keen to do that because obviously it's going to look really bad if you have large areas of burnt out black grass all the way around the track. Also, environmentally, it's not a particularly great thing to do. But they decided not to do it between P3 and qualifying because there wasn't enough time in between the sessions and because there was too much risk of the sponsorship and advertising branding catching on fire if it wasn't properly controlled or monitored. But I think they're going to have to revisit that as an idea because otherwise we're going to have lots of safety cars in the race while they're putting out grass fires, and that's obviously not a great look either.
No, it's not, is it? Thanks, Andrew. It's for the fans in the grandstand as well, having to just sit and wait through yet another red flag. Although, message from race control, the estimated time of Q2 resumption will be 3:39 local time. So that's about a couple of minutes away from now. So that's all fine, because so far what we've seen is when we have the fire, they can put it out, we get going again. It's just a matter of time of waiting until the next fire happens. And we think these are being caused by the sparks that are flying from the underside of these cars, heading for the really dry and yellow grass that it circulates and surrounds this Suzuka circuit. So, I mean, as a driver, Alice, are you just sort of ignoring this because at the end of the day, all you have to do is focus on putting in a lap? But surely this kind of stop-start nature of the same problem plays a part eventually.
It definitely disrupts your flow, but then again, it's the same for everyone. Everyone's in the same boat. The red flag comes out. It's not because, like I say, anyone's had a crash and you've not been able to get your lap in. It's pure and simply the grass is catching fire. So same for everybody. Same sort of pressures for everyone in terms of you need to get on with it and set a benchmark potentially early if this is a reoccurring problem, which it does seem to be. So the two Ferraris are down, queuing already at the end of the pit lane with about 20 seconds to go before the cars will be released. Time has stopped, as Harry's already said, with 8 minutes and 26 seconds left on the clock. A few more engines fire up as a few more cars go out to look to queue towards the end of the pit lane. So Lewis Hamilton is on a brand new set of soft tyres. Same with Charles Leclerc, their first lap times of Q2 were on an old set of soft tyres. You get more performance, more grip, of course, from a new set because they've not been used.
Back underway then for Q2, 8 minutes and 12 seconds remain as the green light comes on at the end of the pits, and it is the two Ferraris who head straight out. Lewis Hamilton followed by his teammate Charles Leclerc. I'll tell you what, no one else in too much of a rush to head out there in these final 8 minutes. It will be a busy session. In trouble are the likes of Carlos Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Ollie Behrman, Yuki Tsunoda and Liam Lawson, all needing to put in extra lap times. Kimi Antonelli as well hasn't quite shown the pace of his teammate George Russell. Antonelli doing enough so far for 8th fastest. Isaac Hadjar, the French rookie in the Racing Bulls, has had continued problems with what we believe are his seatbelts and his positioning of them. He's been really struggling, very vocal on the radio, but at the moment he's still got more pace in hand and currently finds himself inside that top 10, looking for back-to-back top 10 Grand Prix starts in his rookie season, having had a nightmare start in Australia, crashing out on the formation lap on the way to the starting grid. Has made up for that by showing some pace, but yet to get any points on the board, whilst his old teammate Yuki Tsunoda was able to grab some in the sprint in China. So let's see how the next 7 minutes unfold then. Two Ferraris, I think, have played this quite nicely, got the track to themselves. Of course, they'll be the first ones out there. They'll just be hoping that by the time they start their flying laps, not everybody else is about to peel out of the pits. We'll find out in a minute as Lewis Hamilton makes his way round the final corner to start a flying lap.
Yeah, we've got Albon that's out on track, but he is quite away. He's just about to leave the first sector, so he shouldn't trouble Lewis Hamilton, who charges down into turn 1, closes the DRS, flicks it in to the right-hander, long double apex there into turn 2, and then in the favourite section by most of the drivers' opinions, through the S's, uphill, left, right, left into the Dunlop curve. where we did see yesterday, just on the inside of Dunlop Curve, was I believe it was our first fire of the day. I'm pretty sure it was. Then downhill into Degner's, and he's 2.5 tenths, and not even a personal best for Lewis Hamilton in that first sector. The track temperature has dropped by 3 degrees since the start of the qualifying session, and it's gone a little bit cloudy up above, so the sun's not out shining as much as it was, at least. But Lewis Hamilton comes through into the final part of Spoon. He'll exit sector 2, so we'll await his time as he heads then down to 1:30R. Charles Leclerc also not a personal best in the first sector, so they're not finding much performance on this new set of tyres, but Lewis Hamilton has set a personal best in the middle sector, along with his teammate Charles Leclerc, through the final part of the chicane for Lewis Hamilton, and he'll be looking to move his Ferrari slightly up the order into safety, and he does so heading up into P4.
Still about 4 tenths down from Lando Norris. I wonder if Norris will bother coming back out to do a lap time. He's got a fair bit, but George Russell has come out, so I wonder if Norris might get a bit twitchy, but he's still done enough, we think, to get an easy pass through into Q3. Red Bull have finally sent out Yuki Tsunoda with just over 5 minutes left on the clock, now down to 4 minutes and 45 seconds. So Tsunoda, who went out in the early part of this Q2 session on old soft tyres, now out there on fresh rubber, will be looking to try and get that second Red Bull car through into Q3 for the first time this season. Lawson didn't make it out of Q1 on either occasion, and it's Liam Lawson who also joins him down there at the moment in 15th out on the track. Alonso also hoping to make his way through. Carlos Sainz leaving it late in the day. It looks like he's about to be sent away and into the pits, but he's currently 11th. His teammate Alex Albon with a great time up in 7th so far. It's Norris, Russell, Verstappen, Leclerc, Hamilton, Piastri, the top 6, Albon, Antonelli, Hadjar and Gasly 10th. Here's Leclerc.
First sector was rubbish from me.
Well, it wasn't your best, because it wasn't your personal best, Charles Leclerc. Same with Lewis Hamilton. A whisker separating the two Ferrari drivers. Leclerc 4th, Hamilton in 5th, as Max Verstappen, Yuki Tsunoda, that is, looks left, looks right, checks his mirrors, is going to set his car up nicely to get a nice early application of throttle, but a bit too eager there, Harry. The rear of the car steps out at turn 17, so not a great start to his push lap with 3 minutes left to go on the clock. This is going to be the one that counts with his fresh set, brand new set of soft tyres, nicely done using all the road available to him on the exit of turn 2, filters it quite nicely up the hill through the S's. Liam Lawson's out there now, George Russell's out there, Liam Lawson, he's down there with Yuki Tsunoda, so they both need to find some time in these final parts of Q2, and it's not a personal best from Yuki.
No, he's down on Gasly's time in that sector 1, needs to find more of it. Tsunoda so far has been quite strong in the straights, a little weaker through the corners. Out of the hairpin comes the Japanese driver in the white Red Bull as he arcs his way now downhill towards Spoon. Through goes Tsunoda in between the yellow patches of grass that have been talk of the town so far, into that double left-hander, needing to find more time there, runs a little bit out wide. The Williams of Carlos Sainz in his way in the middle of the track, but Tsunoda carries through down the stretch. He's up in the middle sector, but not by much, just over half a tenth of a second towards now the final chicane. Hits the brakes down through the gears, clamps that inside curve, then it's straight into the left-hander. Little bit of a twitch on the steering wheel before he can get his foot back to the floor. Will hug the pit wall. It's only enough for 11th, 8 tenths adrift of Lando Norris's time. He might well, if he's got enough life in the tyre, be able to go again with 1 minute and 50 on the clock. Lawson is also up on time down in the Racing Bulls, but only by half a tenth of a second. Fine margins in these closing stages of qualifying 2 here at the Suzuka circuit in Japan. It's the Racing Bulls driver of Liam Lawson who gets himself up into 10th. Could Lawson be looking at a first Q3 appearance this season? The irony of being demoted to the junior team and doing better.
I mean, looking at the timing screens, Harry, Gasly's on a pretty decent lap. He has set a very good first sector. Fernando Alonso, he jumps up into 10th, so he's knocked Lawson back down into the drop zone. Then Behrman, a stunning lap for him, goes up to 8th, so Alonso is being shuffled down to Gasly. I expect him to pop up. He's done a reasonable first and second sector, but no, not a great final sector from Gasly. The times are so close, fractions, half a tenth, Harry. Could be 1 or even 2 places.
Carlos Sainz looking to try and make his way through into the top 10. Sainz looking for a first top 10 start since Australia, but that didn't pan out for him. He's up through the middle sector on his teammate Albon. Could that come at the expense of his teammate? The chicane is left for him. Piastri gets himself up into 4th. At the moment, it's Gasly, Alonso, Lawson, Tsunoda and Sainz all at risk of being knocked out. Can Sainz make his way through? No, he can't. We'll have to settle for 12th spot as they continue to make their way around. I think that will be almost a collision going into turn 1 between the Ferrari of Lewis Hamilton, almost clouting into the back of Carlos Sainz, and that has completely balked Lewis Hamilton's lap, but the clock is counted down to 0. Tsunoda won't get to go again. Tsunoda out-qualified by the man he replaced, and 8 tenths down. It was all looking fairly good for the Japanese driver, but he hasn't been able to progress through into the top 10, and that will be very frustrating for the home hero.
We spoke too soon, didn't we? We were only chatting about 20 minutes ago how such a great job Yuki Tsunoda is doing, and he should be up right there with with Max Verstappen, should I say, as Charles Leclerc is continuing to extract some pace from his Ferrari. He doesn't really need to complete this lap, so could save the tyre, and he has backed off slightly in the middle sector, lost 3 tenths. So let's see if he peels into the pits, but that'll be real disappointment for Yuki. And I guess the same for Liam Lawson. He's been out-qualified by his rookie teammate, Hadjar. So only 1.5 tenths of a second. But that can make or break your session in terms of you making it through to the next stage of qualifying. Liam down in 14th. Isaac Hadjar up in 9th.
Ollie Behrman gets through into the top 10 as well. Good results for Behrman, good results for Isaac Hadjar, having struggled with those seatbelt issues, still finding the time to get himself through into Q3. But out then goes Liam Lawson, out goes Yuki Tsunoda. The 2 drivers will line up alongside each other on the grid, but it will be Lawson in the Racing Bulls in 14th, ahead of Tsunoda in the Red Bull in 15th. We lost also Pierre Gasly in 11th for Alpine, Carlos Sainz 12th for Williams, and Fernando Alonso 13th for Aston Martin. Now I wonder, was it all lost in the build-up to his first lap as he was coming out of that final corner? Alice, you noticed it, not the ideal lap where he just lost the grip in the rear.
He did, but I don't think that was the be-all and end-all of him gaining positions and jumping further up the order. Harry, he needed let's have a look, a few tenths to make it.
Through the exit of turn 2 as well, he had a moment that ran him out wide, that lost him time, but also to put him out, and we're just seeing another look at the closing speeds.
Albon just goes slow.
I think that was
Albon blocked me
Sainz.
big time into turn 1.
Yeah, it was actually Sainz. Hamilton was rapid on a flying lap, and Sainz was just finishing his final lap and was slow on the racing line, and the rate of speed that Hamilton closed into onto the back of the Williams had to get out of it, and that is going to be investigated after the session. Sainz for impeding Hamilton there, as Yuki Tsunoda has to walk away up through the pit lane. He will be disappointed with that effort, but let's see if he can make his way through during the Grand Prix on Sunday. Gasly out, Sainz out, Alonso out along with Lawson and Tsunoda. Good lap times for Lando Norris once again, who looks like he is clear of the rest of the field right now. George Russell also maintaining good pace. Good run for Behrman.
Nice job, Ollie. You're through. Well done. You're safe.
Oh my God! Nice.
Yeah, well done, man.
Oh, he's just like a kid in a candy shop, isn't he? Every time he steps foot in a Formula One car, even when it's disappointing, he still seems to come out with a smile on his face. So great job for him making his way through into the final stages of qualifying. His teammate Esteban Ocon was out at the first stage, down in 18th place. So a positive start for this weekend for the youngster, Oliver Bearman.
On Tsunoda, was it also a bit of a mistake to send him out in that first run on used tyres? And then obviously we had the red flag, and that really left him pressurised to put in a one-lap performance.
Yeah, it does. It leaves you under pressure. They'll have their reasons why they sent him out on a used set. Maybe he just wanted to find his footing, change something in his driving, in his approach. But he didn't really need to, because in Q2 he was in Q3, should I say? Sorry, Q1. Get my words out in the end. He was pretty close to Max Verstappen. So I have no answer for why they would have sent him out. They've got their own reasons, obviously. As a pump and a wave from David Bearman, Oliver's dad, and round of applause in the Haas garage. He's doing a great job, isn't he, Ollie? You're going to count him as a rookie. Obviously, he appeared first in Formula One in Jeddah, replacing Carlos Sainz last year. And for no preparation, he was racing in Formula 2 that weekend. He did a great job there, so he should be pleased. Let's see how he gets on in this final part of qualifying.
Yeah, he'll get Haas's first top 10 start for the team in Suzuka since 2019. So really great result for Ollie Bearman and his first top 10 start of the year. Best qualifying so far came in the Chinese sprint, where he started 12th. His teammate Esteban Ocon, though, will be disappointed with his efforts, down in 18th. Just a reminder then who we'd lost so far at the end of Q1. Nico Hülkenberg was 16th ahead of his Sauber teammate Gabriel Bortoleto, Esteban Ocon in the Haas behind them, Jack Doohan in the Alpine, and Lance Stroll 20th and last for Aston Martin. And then just at the end of that Q2, Pierre Gasly was out in 11th ahead of Sainz, Alonso 13th, with Lawson in the Racing Bulls 14th, and Tsunoda in the Red Bull 15th. As there will be, I'm sure, some questions asked as to the run plans for both of those drivers, but ultimately good news on the other side of those garage. Max Verstappen managing to salvage yet again the most he can from a Red Bull. He finished that session up in third. And Isaac Hadjar, I have to say, continually impressed by the French rookie. Gets inside the top 10 once again, despite having some issues that have clearly made him feel quite uncomfortable.
Yeah, he looks a little bit more comfortable now, as we're seeing pictures of him adjusting his gloves. He's not wincing, he's staring straight on, adjustments of the helmet. So he'll be pleased that whatever issues he had with his belts are all sorted. So good job for him, out qualifying his teammate Alex Albon, sneaking in there as well in the top 10 in the Williams, unlike his teammate Sainz, who ended up 12th. So the fans wait on. Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, he's never qualified on the front row at Suzuka, stares on. Is this going to be the day where he will take the honours in terms of qualifying pace here in Japan? But don't rule out his teammate. Okay, he was only 4th in that part of qualifying, but was looking particularly strong for the rest or the previous part of the session and the weekend.
Well, looking to get the session started, or for Q3 at least, in the next minute or so. That's the message from race control. When you're sat in the cockpit, Alice, and you're waiting for that qualifying session to begin, I know a lot of the drivers have different rituals and things like that. What were you doing? You sort of closing your eyes, envisaging a lap around the circuit? What was your routine?
I like to shut my eyes, visualise a lap. If it's a race start, for example, just practice with your pedals. There's a hand clutch with a Formula One car, obviously, but just taking out, keeping things simple of what you need to do, where you need to improve, where you can go quicker. as Ollie Behrman's down at the...
A rather lonely-looking Ollie Behrman, has to say.
Yeah, he is. He's down, eager to get back out. He's so excited with making it through into Q3. He's about to be joined by Lewis Hamilton, by the looks of it, as the car's lowered to the ground. The tyre warmers are about to be released. Out goes Kimi Antonelli. And then George Russell follows behind, and they all start to peel out, and McLaren's just having to wait in the slow lane.
Session then underway. Green light on at the end of the pit lane, 11 minutes and 43, 42, 41 seconds then as it starts to ramp up, and the fight for pole position is on. But at the moment, it does look like it's advantage McLaren, and particularly advantage Lando Norris. But let's see who can pack a punch in these last 11.5 minutes remaining. 10 cars left as we set the grid for Sunday's Grand Prix. We have 2 McLarens, Norris and Piastri, 2 Ferraris, Leclerc and Hamilton, 2 Mercedes in Russell and Antonelli, 1 Red Bull in Max Verstappen, 1 Williams in Alex Albon, 1 Racing Bulls in Isaac Hadjar, and 1 Haas in the form of Oliver Behrman. We could have some good stories here this afternoon for the best of the rest, and that battle in the midfield, so fierce and expected to be tight all throughout the season as they embark and warm up their tyres around a 5.8 kilometre circuit. 18 turns, 10 to the right and 8 to the left around this figure of 8 layout, the only one in Formula One featuring incredible corners, medium high-speed corners. Your steering wheel is constantly moving all through the S's in sector 1 before you curve your way through the Dunlop curve. Then it's the 2 Degners, the 90-degree right-hander at turn 9 as you approach the hairpin, the slowest corner on the track, 60 kilometres an hour around the left-hander, and then arcing your way through turn 12 towards Spoon, a double left-hander made up of turn 13 and 14. Down then the back stretch towards the quickest corner, not only on this circuit, but one of the quickest circuits on the Formula One calendar, getting up to almost 300 kilometres an hour, if you dare, through the left-hander of 130R before you're almost slamming on the brakes immediately. Through the final chicane, the Casio triangle, a quick right-left, and then a slight turn to the right sees you back onto the start-finish straight, all within a minute and a half. Quicker if you can. George Russell making his way up through the S's now. Russell, who has looked good all weekend so far, hasn't qualified higher than 8th here in Formula One. Could he be on the front row? Could he upset the McLarens this afternoon? Chucks it into Degner 1. Slows it down through the right-hander of Degner 2. Not neat and tidy, doesn't dip a wheel onto the gravel as he approaches the hairpin.
Just one thing to point out, Antonelli, Behrman, Hadjar and Albon all on a used set of soft tyre. So George Russell, who we're riding on board with at the moment, fastest of anybody in the first sector. He's on a brand new soft, just waits for that front end to bite as he goes through the final part of Spoon. Camber isn't in your favour on the exit of Spoon, and traditionally you get understeer, the front waiting to grip through 130R, fastest of anybody in the middle sector as well. So this is looking a pretty decent lap for George Russell. Misses the first part of the chicane curve, but catches the second part, will hug the pit wall as he shortens the distance to the line, crosses the line, 127.3, not as fast as we've seen in the previous qualifying session. Lando Norris was a 127.1. Norris is out there, not setting the world on fire at the moment. It's actually Max Verstappen, fastest of anybody in the middle sector. He goes slightly wide though, missing the first part of the curve in the chicane, but quickly released onto the straight. Oscar Piastri has just actually set the fastest of anybody in that middle sector, and he actually, Oscar, jumps right up to the top of the times, a 127.0.
Yeah, didn't have the strongest of first sectors to Piastri that really made up for it in the final 2 sectors. Norris isn't able to go quicker. He's about to cross the line now, hugs that pit wall, and it's roles reversed at the end of the first runs of Q3. Lando Norris 4th, whilst his teammate is 4/10 clear of him, up in first place. Provisional pole for Piastri. Max Verstappen second, a couple of tenths adrift. Russell third. Then it's Norris. Hamilton crosses the line in fifth. Hadjar, good showing from him so far, up into sixth. So too from Behrman, seventh, ahead of the Williams of Albon. Kimi Antonelli, not the best opening run for him. Currently down in 10th as now Charles Leclerc crosses the line and goes up to third spot. So, runs then to go again under pressure. Antonelli will be looking to improve his Mercedes form. The battle of the best of the rest. Hadjar, Behrman and Albon all vying for their teams in the midfield. And as Behrman got more time in hand, he was the first car to come across the line. I think he's got more time because he nearly lost that ass on the exit of turn 2.
Yeah, dropped a wheel on the exit of turn 2, like you said. Kicks up the gravel, actually both left-hand side tyres dipped into the gravel, nearly kicked him out and sending him right into the wall, but he's back in, drink bottle in hand, TV screen goes up, and have a little look at the coverage, and also some data and analysis will be shown. But Piastri certainly has the dominance over Lando Norris at the moment. Lando was about 4 tenths adrift of what his time was in Q2, so whether he was just taking it easy, but I can't imagine he was. So both McLarens will peel back into the pits, sit for a couple of minutes before they venture back out to try and improve on their pace.
With that lap time for Piastri, he has just set the new outright track record for this circuit. He's taken it away from Sebastian Vettel's Q3 run back in 2019 by 1:27.052. Compare that to a 1:27.069 that Vettel achieved a few years ago. Right then, we get a little lull at around this period of time. 5.5 minutes left on the clock as they all come back in. May bolt on a new set of tyres and have one more run before we finalise the grid for Sunday's Grand Prix, which you can hear in full on BBC Radio 5 Live as well as on BBC Sounds, and your smart speaker will have build-up from 5:30 on Sunday ahead of lights out from 6 o'clock in the morning, so it's a slightly more palatable time than the sessions have been so far. So do hope you can join us for that one. Always a thrilling race around Japan with a threat of rain in the air as well. Is that not tempting you enough? But first of all, we find out who will have the best view in the house in the rundown to turn 1. Pole position on the left-hand side here for this Grand Prix. It's about just over a 270-metre run down from pole to turn 1. As the 10 cars remaining, just waiting to be sent out from their boxes.
Lewis Hamilton down into the final part of Degner's, that's turn 9. A bit too eager on the throttle, kicks the rear of the car out. Nice save by Lewis. That certainly would have dropped him some time and can possibly explain why he's a little bit of a drift from his teammate Charles Leclerc. But he was on a brand new set of soft tyres. He's waving, gesticulating to the team in the garage. I'm not sure if he wants his water bottle or some information. Actually, I think he was asking for the TV screen, which has been on the front of the car. It's now going to be removed as covers come off. Another brand new set of soft tyre, and out of the garage goes Lewis Hamilton to join the queue that has taken place at the end of the pit lane. It is green, but each driver trickling out at a slow pace just to try and get their perfect track position, have nobody around them so they can have all that space to themselves. First gear engaged for Oscar Piastri as well, as he's fed out into the fast lane.
Shiny soft tyres on board as well. 3 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock, and the McLarens do like a tight turning circle, don't they, when they're released, almost scraping the pit wall. There is a bit of margin for error, though, for Piastri compared to what Norris was doing earlier on in qualifying. This is the sound of his teammate Norris, who is out on track at the moment, making his way up through the S's on his out lap. Everybody coming out of the pits at the moment, with the exception of Piastri and Verstappen, but I expect we'll see them out imminently as well. It is advantage Australia, advantage Oscar Piastri. Currently with provisional pole, 2 tenths clear of Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc third, George Russell in fourth ahead of Lando Norris, Lewis Hamilton with time to find in sixth, then it's Isaac Hadjar in seventh ahead of Ollie Behrman eighth, Alex Albon is ninth, and Kimi Antonelli in the Mercedes is 10 cars heading out to the circuit. It's about to get very busy in these next 2.5 minutes. Alice, who'd you pick for pole?
I'm going to stick with Piastri. I think he set a very impressive lap time. Track will evolve slightly. He's also out on a brand new set of soft tyres along with everybody else. But he's the man in the best seat. At the moment, it's going to be a tough lap time to beat.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Suzuka in the last couple of minutes of qualifying to find out who will start from pole position for the Japanese Grand Prix. We've already had one incident with fire once again erupting on the grass, catching fire from the sparks flying off of these cars. At the moment, we've been able to abate that for the time being and get some running in, and it is about to get busy. Alongside myself is the racing driver Alice Powell, and it is advantage at the moment. Oscar Piastri in the McLaren. His first lap time in this session, good enough for pole position at the moment. George Russell in the Mercedes is out there now on his final fly. Has been looking quick, but actually made a mistake in sector 1 just now, didn't he, Alice?
He did. A horrible error for him. The rear of the car just kicking out as he went through turn 1 and then straight away into turn 2. Isaac Hadjar, he has set a fairly decent first sector, but not as good as Lando Norris. He is a 10th and a half faster than his teammate Oscar Piastri, who's still on his build-up laps. So we'll wait for him as he enters into the first sector. George running slightly wide. Harry, I don't think there's going to be a big improvement for him on this lap.
Yeah, down that back stretch towards the fastest corner on the circuit, flat out through the left-hander of 130 for George Russell around this Suzuka track, hosts of round 3 of the 2025 Formula 1 World Championship. We're a couple of 100 miles southwest of the capital, Tokyo, in the motorsport mecca of Japan. As we cross the line for George Russell, he doesn't improve, stays in 4th. Lando Norris, meanwhile, is flying through the first sector. Isaac Hadjar, the French rookie for Racing Bull, so close to the pit wall. I think he might have actually scraped a bit of the advertising hoarding off it. He crosses the line and does improve into 7th. Lando Norris takes provisional pole with 10 seconds left on the clock, away from his teammate Oscar Piastri, but we will still see what Piastri has got as he is coming through now, but I'm not sure Piastri is doing enough yet to fight back. What about the 2 Ferraris? Charles Leclerc currently down in 4th. Lewis Hamilton down in 8th and needing to find time, but it's the Williams of Alex Albon who comes across and takes the checkered flag first. He will have to settle for 9th. This is the sound of Max Verstappen in the white Red Bull, a special livery for this weekend. The Red Bull have been struggling so far. Just one Red Bull remaining after Yuki Tsunoda knocked out in Q2. One more corner to go then for Max Verstappen as Oscar Piastri goes fastest of anybody through the middle sector, and it's Max Verstappen out of nowhere who takes provisional pole by 12 thousandths of a second. Lando Norris bumped down to 2nd. Can Piastri do anything more across the line? No, he can't. By less than half a tenth of a second, Piastri has to settle for 3rd. And where did that come from? For Red Bull, struggling all throughout the weekend in a car described at times as undrivable. But it's Max Verstappen, the reigning champion, the man you never rule out, who sets pole position, Alice, for the Japanese Grand Prix.
Wow, out of nowhere, like you said, Harry, what a lap from Max Verstappen, and you can see how happy he is. He's pumping his fists as he's bringing his car back round to line up in the number 1 spot, and that was really unexpected from Red Bull. And Piastri, he lost a lot of time in that first sector because he just set a blistering middle and final sector. If only he got that first sector nailed and together nicely, but it's Red Bull, and it's a team that we certainly did not expect to be qualifying on pole position this weekend, but never rule out Max Verstappen.
That is insane. That is insane. Pole position.
Yes, let's go! Wow! What a lap! Yes, guys!
What a lap. What a lap, Max. Unbelievable. You've done it.
Wait, this... Wow. I'm really happy. Wow.
Pure class, mate. Pure class.
I think that might be the happiest I've ever heard Max Verstappen when